Jack is going to do a little interview, so if you could just so that you know that your conversation will be recorded, it just be 5 minutes, but I just wanted you to be aware that we're doing a little interviewing right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, Ryder, if you walk us through some of your pieces, we'd appreciate it very much.
Sure. My name is Ryder Holmes Wilson. I've been making these concrete pieces with my mom for about 10 years now. This here is like a palm stump piece. I use palm bark to make this mold. I actually made hundreds of these tables probably. But here's just a particular version. I used different pigments to kind of make a forest or a mossy aesthetic. The kind of splatter effect, which is similar to this one as well, this piece.
Yeah. So on some of these pieces, that's the bark of the palm tree, and then you use that as your mold?
Yeah, this was it was the palm seed fronds actually that I used to make the mold. Like, you know, the palm trees, they make these seed pods that they spill out all these seeds. They look pretty wild, but yeah, we collected the seed palm bark.
And you make a slurry out of it, and then it gets to be a mold?
Yeah, just like kind of like taped them all together, a bunch of pieces, and made a mold. And it looks, you know, a lot of people think it's like a tree stump, but it's palm seed pod bark.
Slurry, palm seed slurry.
Yeah, so yeah, I use that to make this piece, and the splatter effect, which so I've done a few splatter kind of pieces, which, you know, it's somewhat like, you know, the famous splatter artist.
Yeah.
Name's blanking on me right now, but it's somewhat inspired by him. You know, it has a bit of a Rorschach effect as well, where you can see what you want to see. And this piece here is, you know, it's kind of evocative of like fallen leaves in a way. And yeah, it's just fun.
So this all his inserts, that's just floating in a, what kind of is that a concrete mix that it's in?
Yeah, it's all concrete. They're just different levels of pigmentation that I add into the concrete, and I just kind of throw onto the mold. I just threw down the concrete and then kind of poured on the main white color over on top of that for this one. And yeah, it's kind of fun. It was sometimes concrete feels a bit serious, so I was having a little fun with that one.
Yeah, it's got some interesting texture in it.
Yeah, so yeah. And then this is my, you know, kind of my bread and butter. My mom started this using the botanical designs in our work years and years ago. And, you know, it's just a very popular look. It's very, you know, it's beautiful. I love it. This is an artichoke leaf that I use to make the impression. And I use real leaves to make these impressions, and then take the leaf out, kind of make a fossil with it, and fill it in with pigment and kind of polish it down, and yeah, it just has a really nice calming effect. It really kind of softens the concrete. This concrete's such a intense, you know, artificial feeling. It's a natural material, but feels very, you know, brutalist, very harsh. So the leaves really help just make it feel a little gentler, and even like sometimes gives it a little of a bevel and just a little bit of texture. So,
and that's, you don't have to grind down, like the concrete doesn't invade on the leaf, huh?
No, because it's all just cast in as like one piece, and then I fill it in with more grout essentially, and it's you know, it's many steps to generate a piece like this, but yeah.
Great.
So that's our most common look, I would say. And then here is, you know, a little more, you know, experimental, a little more controversial, a little more texture. I've always loved working with texture in furniture, but it's been something that is hard for people to, you know, it is harder to live with something that has more texture.
Yeah.
But this piece is called Furrows. This is really a piece that kind of represents my Placemakers series that isn't fully represented in the show, but this is sort of, I would say, kind of my signature piece for the show.
Is that very heavy? How heavy is that?
They're not too bad. This one's actually quite light. This one's about 45 pounds maybe.
Oh, that's not bad.
So yeah, they're all, you can move, you know.
You can move them around without rupturing yourself.
Yeah, you won't get a hernia just lifting it. I mean, lift with your legs and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're very functional and light, relatively light.
Yeah. Now, like these pieces, do you have to keep them sheltered? Like you put them outside, has to be sheltered from the weather, or that can withstand the weather?
It can withstand weather. I mean, anything outside is gonna, you know, it's gonna take a toll for sure, but it's not gonna fail. Like,
not fragile.
Or it's not. They're not gonna crack. I mean, you might get some cracking over time, and they'll get a patina, and they're sealed, so they should be protected. But anything outside needs more upkeep. Doesn't matter what it is. But but they can be outside, indoor, outdoor. They tend to they will look like this if it's indoors. It'll look the same for years and years and years. But if it's outdoors, you might have to reseal it every once in a while or clean it up.
So it really served nicely as a side table or something indoors next to a couch or a sitting place.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Also, so you have quite a few of them here.
Yeah. So, the drip piece that I made, I was kind of playing with, you know, just trying to have the concrete drip along the edges as I was casting it. And I make these upside down actually, so it kind of was dripping down from the top, from the sides onto the top. And then I ended up just with this interesting effect on this top that I really liked. This is actually...
How do you get the blend of colors like that? You see sort of a dark brown and a gray. How is all that color worked in?
Well, in this case, it was from doing the drips, and all the different colors kind of dripped down the sides and combined into this sort of mottled look that was really nice, and I really and I've spent some time trying to kind of replicate it, but gets very difficult. You get a look that you're like, wow, that's really cool, and then you try and replicate it, and it's not always easy to...
Sort of a fleeting technique.
Yeah.
You have to catch it while it's good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this is one of the last pieces I made in my old shop, so it's kind of got some special emotional significance for me as well.
I like that. And then this is very much like that other one.
This is the same as the other one.
Boy, this one really looks like a tree.
Yeah, and that's the same palm seed pod bark as the other one. It's just like a larger mold that I made, and it ended up a little more sculptural, which I like.
Yeah.
And, it reminds me of like a painted cave or a...
yeah, it has nice lines on it.
Yeah, and that one was more, my mom painted the sides with like oil paints actually, which is not very traditional for concrete, but it's actually really held up quite well and was very beautiful.
So that's some oil painting on the side?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a pair with the one that I just talked about, and I think that the feeling here was of going in and water and reflection, and then I wanted the vibrancy of this pink coming up and out. And ink was used, and I don't really use brushes very much. I use like an old piece of plastic to make these shapes, and it's quite physical, the gestures that I make. And I'll go on to this one, which was inspired by a daffodil. And it doesn't really look like a daffodil, but I know it's that daffodil because here there was an exuberance about the thrust of the trumpet of the daffodil, and I was interested in the way that the pastel and the watercolor kind of reticulated in some of these areas and made for interesting textures. So that was that. These two are very much ink and watercolor washes, and you just have to bravely go for it, really, and hope that something comes out that works. And some of it works and some of it doesn't. You take a chance, really, with it. I think that works. I'm not sure. What do you think? Anyway.
Okay, yeah. These.
Yeah, this is rather slight, but I always think that grey in the distance, shadow with yellow, works together in a very slight sort of way. So that's a little painting. This actually is a pair with, I did those two together, this one and that more delicate one there. So I can be delicate, but most of the time I'm rather heavy-handed, I'd say. But there is some delicacy coming through. And that's when the ink and the watercolor actually create their own magic together, and it's sort of a gift. And this one, I think it's
Are they put in separate washes, the ink and the watercolor?
Yes,
Yeah.
they are. I sometimes let it dry and then go back and work on it. I did with this. This was actually less than satisfactory for a long time, and I kept on looking at it, and then I decided to do the white lines right at the end. And go, okay, let's just do it and see what happens. And I think it works. We have a foreground there, and we have some depth at the back. And I always think that pink and green are kind of sweet together.
Yeah.
So that's that. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's very nice. Thanks very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
I love your explanations.
Well,
Okay.
Thank you.